Good morning, everybody. Welcome back for installment of Scott's Selections here for Wednesday, November 22nd. For again today's play of the day, quick recap what happened yesterday. We had a nice winner in college basketball with the under in the Idaho State and Campbell game at 127.5, minus 110 on DraftKings. Wasn't exactly the easiest game as the first half was somewhat high scoring, but both teams are on back-to-backs, and Campbell was off an overtime game the day prior, and the second half absolutely died. Campbell had no legs the entire game, only scored 55, and the game ended up dying in the low 120s. It's a nice winner. Look for the winner here on Wednesday. And for today's play of the day, going back to another obscure college basketball game, you're looking at a matchup between South Alabama and Samford, taking place at around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And for this game, I'm going to take the dog here. Going to take Alabama State plus the 15.5 at minus 112 on Bet Rivers. Time recording of 2:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Covering why we're going to take the underdog in the spot. First reason shopping around 15.5 is a very good line. DraftKings and Caesars both move their lines to 15. So I do expect some line movement in favor of Alabama State, and I think 15.5 will not be there by game time. But to look at the actual ATS numbers for these teams, Alabama State's been very good. Samford has been very bad. So each team faced off against a non-D1 team, which they blew out. I'm going to throw that out. There was no spread. Not going to mention it. Now, Alabama State is 3-0 ATS against D1 teams. Samford is 0-3. And to go through the actual schedule, Alabama State has faced off against consistently better competition. Alabama State faced off against Ole Miss on the road, Iowa on the road, and Memphis on the road. Combined record 11-1 straight up. And once again, Alabama State did cover all three games. Only lost to Ole Miss by 10. Only lost to Memphis by 17. Did get killed by Iowa, but covered by a hook. It happens. But the point is, Samford did face off against Purdue on the road. They got killed. That's expected. Purdue might be the best team in the country. Faced off against VCU on the road, lost by 10, which sounds decent, but Samford was only getting 4.5 in that game. So once again, they did not cover. And then faced off against the bottom feeder in South Carolina State, only won by 17 as a 20.5-point favorite. Combined opponent record of 10-3. So Alabama State's been pretty undervalued so far this season. Samford's been overvalued. I think that is the case once again here in this Wednesday game. Now, to go through the actual shooting splits for these teams, even though Samford is the better team, the shooting splits are actually pretty close. In fact, you can argue that it's actually in favor of Alabama State. So to go through the shooting splits here, once again, against better competition, Samford is shooting 38% from the floor, 72.7% from the free throw line, and 26.9% from the three-point line. Alabama State is shooting 37.4% from the floor, so a little bit worse than Samford, but somewhat close. They're shooting roughly 3% better from the foul line at 75.9%. And they're shooting roughly 9% better from three, shooting 35.2%. They might be wondering, Samford's shooting numbers are terrible. How do they win games? And the main reason, they are good at getting to the foul line and they force a lot of turnovers. But to go through the actual turnover numbers here, Alabama State is actually very good at not turning the ball over. Alabama State is averaging 11.7 turnovers per game, which ranks tied for 118 in the nation. Samford, by comparison, is averaging 15.3 turnovers per game, which ranks tied for 311th. So I do think Alabama State, with its slow pace and its desire to kill possessions, should really be able to limit Samford's very aggressive defense from forcing turnovers, and that should result in what could be a very ugly game in which points are at a premium, and Alabama State does cover this number. But I also want to point out that Alabama State is also the better rebounding team. To go through the rebounding numbers, Alabama State ranks 273 in rebounding rate. Samford ranks 309. So you're looking at Alabama State getting 15.5 against a team that's 0-3 ATS and a team that only beat South Carolina State by 17, while Alabama State covered this number against Ole Miss, lost by 10 on the road. And losing by 17 to Memphis is actually a pretty decent loss. Memphis is pretty solid in their conference. But you're looking at, once again, the actual splits and the overall stats. Alabama State is getting 15.5. They're arguably better with their shooting numbers. They're better at rebounding, and they're better at limiting turnovers. 15.5 is massive to me. Now, I'm not saying that Alabama State's going to win. I think Samford's probably going to find a way to get the job done. But 15.5 is huge. I see Alabama State losing probably by 10, give or take. I can see Samford at some point being up by 16. Do I think they sustain it? No. I think they're going to let Alabama State hang around, take their foot off the gas, and I do think that Alabama State will find a way to cover this number. But once again, I think 15.5 is too high. I think Samford's overvalued, and I do think there is some value on the dog in this spot. Split it once again here for Wednesday, November 22nd is going to be on Alabama State plus the 15.5 at minus 112 on Bet Rivers. Bye, everyone.